Welcome to Class 8 History Chapter 12 India after Independence. After a long and difficult freedom struggle, India obtained her independence from British rule in 1947. However, this independence came with the partition of the country. A new state of Pakistan was created with portions of western and eastern India. After independence, a constitution was framed and new states were formed, planning for the development of the country. This chapter teaches all these scenarios in detail. A new and divided nation. The partition of India resulted in the movement of a large number of people. The settlement of these people and organization of princely states were the main challenges before the new nation. The partition caused a lot of uncertainty in many parts of the new nations, especially in the region of Jammu and Kashmir. Why was it needed to make two countries? Hindus and Muslims in India were deeply divided and unwilling to coexist in the same nation. Especially, the Muslim League did not want to accept Indian independence if it were to be governed by the Hindu-dominated Congress party. It was agreed between British Prime Minister Clement Attlee and the Indian leaders that two nations should be created, one for Muslims and another for Hindus. The refugee crisis led to the movements of a large group of displaced people from one country to another. Majority of the Hindus and Sikhs were leaving Pakistan for India for their safety because it was impossible to live in a country that established itself as an Islamic state. As the country was split divided by religion, many Muslims from Indian region moved into the new land of Pakistan. The Radcliffe Line was marked as the boundary between the two new countries. It was marked by Sir Cyril Radcliffe based on the districts in those areas. Then there was the problem of the princely states. There were about 500 princely states in India. The problem of the princely states was that each was ruled by a Maharaja or a Nawab. Integration of princely states possessed many difficulties in front of new nation builders. British announced to lapse of British authority over princely states with the end of their rule over India. British government took the view that all these states were free to join either India or Pakistan or remain independent willfully. It became a hindrance for unity of nation. Ruler of Travancore declared his state as an independent one. Nizam of Hyderabad and Bhopal also followed Travancore. These responses created a possibility of division of country in place of unity and democracy. So, each Raja or Nawab was persuaded to join the Indian nation. A new political system was to be made in order to serve the country in a better way. In 1947, at independence, there was great problem of unity in India. India's population was huge and divided between castes. The citizens of India spoke different languages, wore different kinds of dresses, ate different kinds of food and practiced different profession. Another issue was the problem of development. At independence, the majority of Indians lived in the villages. Farmers and peasants depended on the monsoon for their survival and lived under poverty. In the cities, factory workers lived in crowded slums with little access to education or health care. The new nation had to lift its people out of poverty by increasing the productivity of agriculture and by promoting new job-creating industries. Unity and development should go hand in hand. Divisions between different sections of India should be healed so that it doesn't turn into violent and costly conflicts. The fruits of economic development should reach the broad masses of the population to avoid fresh divisions like rich and poor, citizen, countryside, or villages, etc. After independence, our leaders wanted to create a new constitutional form of government. So, they wanted a document that would divide, distribute, balance, and protect governmental powers and ensure that the liberties and rights of the people were protected. That's why a constitution is written. Constitution is a written document which lays out the working of the government of the country. The duties and responsibilities of all the organs of government are mentioned in this document. Moreover, the rights and duties of the citizens are also mentioned in the Constitution. In order to frame the Constitution for India, Constituent Assembly was appointed. It had members from all parts of the country. It met between December 1946 and November 1949. Discussions and debates were held on different issues in order to frame the constitution which could be acceptable by all. Do you know who is the father of the Indian Constitution? We will come to know about it. Between December 1946 and November 1949, some 300 Indians had a series of meetings on the country's political future. These Constituent Assembly meetings were held in New Delhi and these discussions resulted in the framing of the Indian Constitution. Indian Constitution came into effect on 26 January 1950. One feature of the Constitution was its adoption of universal adult franchise. That means all Indians above the age of 21 would be allowed to vote in state and national elections to choose their leaders. This was a revolutionary step. In other countries like UK and United States, this right had been granted in different stages. That means at the first stage only rich men had the right to vote. Then educated men were also added. Women didn't have the right to vote for a long. Working class men got the vote only after a long struggle. Finally, after a bitter struggle by women, American and British women were granted the vote. On the other hand, soon after independence, India chose to grant this right to all its citizens regardless of gender, class, or education. The second feature of the Constitution was that it guaranteed equality before the law to all citizens regardless of their caste or religious affiliation. India has a large population with diversity. The Indian population at the time of independence was 345 million. The people followed different faiths, spoke different languages, and followed different cultures. Therefore, many people opined that India could never unite as a nation. Some leaders pointed to the example of Pakistan and suggested that India should run as a Hindu state. However, the Indian Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru was of the opinion that India must not become a Hindu Pakistan. That means our country should not be run to protect the interest of a particular religious community. Besides Muslims, India also had large populations of Sikhs, Christians, Parsis, and Jains. Under the new constitution, they would have the same rights as Hindus, the same opportunities when it came to seeking jobs in government or the private sector, the same rights before the law. The problem of development was also attached to this. The third feature of the constitution offered special privileges for the scheduled caste. The Dalits, they were formerly known as untouchables, are now officially designated as scheduled caste. They constitute some 1/6 of the Indian population. However, for centuries, they were forced to live as second-class citizens and many were not even considered to be a part of India's Varna system of social hierarchy. Most of them were called as untouchables. Do you know how Gandhiji called them? He called them Harijans. They are now officially designated as scheduled caste in the Constitution of India. Many scheduled caste groups now prefer the name Dalit. That means crushed, or oppressed. Among the scheduled castes, however, there are numerous subdivisions. The scheduled castes were poorest and most disadvantaged Indians. They were subjected to various socio-religious disabilities. Scheduled castes were sometimes barred from the use of temples and other religious institutions and even from public schools. After independence, social discrimination was prohibited and the practice of preventing access to religious, occupational, or civil rights on the grounds of untouchability was made a punishable offense. The practice of untouchability was abolished. Hindu temples previously opened only to the higher caste were opened to all. B.R. Ambedkar, often seen as the father of the Indian Constitution. He played a key role in social movements that fought for the rights of untouchables. The Constituent Assembly also recommended that a certain percentage of seats in legislature as well as jobs in government be reserved for members of the lowest caste. Along with the Harijans, the Adivasis or scheduled tribes were also granted reservation in elections and jobs. Adivasis are the term which is used to describe the tribal people who used to live in the jungle and have their own limited circle in which all their rituals, religions and works are being practiced. Forests covered the major part of our country till the 19th century and the Adivasis had a deep knowledge of access to forest resources. This meant that they were not ruled by large states and empires. In the pre-colonial world, they were traditionally hunter-gatherers and nomads and lived by shifting agriculture and also cultivating in one place. Like the scheduled caste, these tribals were deprived of modern healthcare and education. The Adivasis or scheduled tribes were also granted reservation in elections and jobs by the Indian Constitution. The Constituent Assembly spent many days discussing the powers of the central government versus the state governments. Some members argued that only central government should handle all the powers. Some others felt that the provinces or state governments should have greater autonomy and freedom. In order to balance these competing claims, the Constitution provided three lists of subjects, or the powers were divided. You might have heard about union list, state list and concurrent list. It simply meant the division of powers between central government and state government. A union list with subjects such as taxes, defense and foreign affairs would be the exclusive responsibility of the center. A state list of subjects such as education and health would be taken care of principally by the states. Subjects such as forest and agriculture come under concurrent list in which the center and the states would have joint responsibility. Another major debate in the Constituent Assembly was concerned about the language. Many members believed that the English language should leave India and its place should be taken by Hindi. However, those who did not speak Hindi were of a different opinion. The plan to make Hindi the only official language of the country has met with stiff resistance in many parts of the country. Some people from South India threatened to separate from India if Hindi was imposed on them. While speaking in the assembly, T.T. Krishnamachari conveyed a warning on behalf of people of the South. He was a member of the Constituent Assembly and helped to draft the Indian Constitution. He was the Indian Finance Minister from 1956 to 1958 and from 1964 to 1966. It was T.T. Krishnamachari spoke in the Constituent Assembly on behalf of people of South India concerning the language. Finally, a compromise arrived that Hindi would be the official language of India. English would be used in the courts, the services and communications between one state and the other. Indian people speak as many as 22 major languages written in 13 different scripts with over 720 dialects. The official Indian languages are Hindi and English, which are widely spoken and recognized. In addition, various states in India have their official local language, and this linguistic diversity is one of the unique features of our democracy. The 8th schedule of the Constitution of India specifies the different Indian languages recognized as official languages of different areas in the country. Thus, in combination with other local official languages in the state, English and Hindi continue to be used today as major official languages. To make it clear, the Indian Constitution specifically mentions that the official language of the Union shall be Hindi in Devanagari script. The business in Indian Parliament can only be transacted in Hindi or in English. So, English is allowed to be used in official purposes such as parliamentary proceedings, judiciary, communications between the central government and a state government. States within India have the liberty and powers to specify their own official language through legislation. The Constitution recognizes 22 regional languages which include Hindi but not English as scheduled language. Hindi and English are the only two languages mentioned on the Indian passport. Many Indians contributed to the framing of the Constitution. Perhaps the most important role was played by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. He was the chairman of the drafting committee. In his final speech, Dr. Ambedkar pointed out that political democracy had to be accompanied by economic and social democracy. Our Constitution recognized the principle of one man, one vote, and one value. But removing the other inequalities between rich and poor or between upper and lower caste are also important to maintain the principle of one man, one value. But in our social and economic structure, it continues to deny this principle. How were states to be formed? We will look into this in the next session. Please subscribe the channel to be notified of the new videos. Stay with us for more updates. Thank you for watching.